Hello, my loves. Hello, beautiful people. We are back. I am going to be talking about love languages today. If you don't know what a love language is, this is how you or an individual receives love. This is how we are able to communicate our appreciation, our emotions, things of that nature. So, I'm going to get into what are the five love languages, but not just that. I'm actually going to talk about what could possibly be the least compatible of the love languages if they are together, and the most compatible if the love languages are together. So I'm super excited. Don't take what I say to heart when it comes down to compatibility, because at the end of the day, if you want it to work, whether it's a platonic or an intimate relationship, it will work. You just have to put in the work. But these are just my opinions. So if you are interested, just make sure that you keep on watching. One of the first love languages I'm going to get into is words of affirmation. Now, these are individuals who love to just have themselves be listened to get praise and encouragement. They love to be acknowledged by words, obviously. So that means that this could be where they are, getting letters from you unexpectedly just to let them know that you are paying attention to them without them actually requesting and pulling out of you words that they need to hear from you. So essentially, words of affirmation is the love and the praise that they get through words. The second love language is quality time. These are your individuals who love that one-on-one attention, that doesn't like to be interrupted when this is happening. So that can mean you guys going to the park, or you guys having kind of like a picnic, or just things where you can really sit with that person one-on-one and just enjoy each other's time. Number 3, acts of service. These are people who like things to be taken off their plate, for you to acknowledge that they are either doing so much, they're overwhelmed, or whatever the case may be, and you are helping them. Once again, it gives that extra special touch if you are doing it without them even asking. They don't even have to say anything. They just come home or whatever and they say, oh, like the dishes were done, or oh, my clothes are put away, or hey, you thought about dinner tonight, or like, oh, I've been meaning to wash my car for a whole week and you washed it for me. Just really taking into consideration everything or something that they have to do, and you do it for them. Acts of service. Number 4, physical touch. This is that basically non-verbal communication through touching someone. So that can mean just a pat on the back. It can mean rubbing of the shoulder, hugs, kisses on the forehead, all those little things that you don't even have to say a word for them to feel valued. So physical touch. Okay, guys, and then there's number 5, which is receiving gifts. Now, I want to put out there, because most people think that sometimes this could be materialistic, which to a certain extent it can be, but that doesn't mean the gifts necessarily have to be expensive. It can mean while you're out that you got me Chick-fil-A, or hey, you saw this in the store and you thought it matched my room color, those kind of things. But this is where the person or individual who believes that receiving gifts is a form of love is the fact that you are taking time and consideration to think about something thoughtful and meaningful that could really help them, which honestly is not that bad of a thing. It means that you took the time to think about them. So that could be all sorts of things. But anyway, that is the 5th love language. So now I have 2 pairs for either the hardest compatibilities versus the easiest or better compatibilities. So I'm going to start with the negative ones first, because we want to end this on a positive note. So the first pair that probably is the hardest to be compatible with each other is words of affirmation and physical touch. Now, if we need to remember words of affirmation, these are people that need to hear from an individual that they are valued, that they are appreciated, things of that nature. Whereas physical touch, you're not saying too much of anything. That's more of where you are touching someone, you are rubbing their back, you are giving them that attention through most likely your hands, your body, things of that nature. So that in itself, if you really sit down and think about it, one is basically a language where I need to hear you tell me things. I need to hear you acknowledge what I do to make me feel valued. Whereas the other one, physical touch, is I love you. I just want to touch your arms, your legs. Oh, or let me just hold your hand to show you gratitude. So they are really communicating to each other, but not in the way that they want to be communicated, if that makes sense. And also too, I kind of feel like, my own personal opinion, I kind of feel like with physical touch, especially a person that is a words of affirmation type of person, let's say you're talking and that person is rubbing your leg or paying attention to your arms or just trying to hug you. Sometimes it may feel, for a person with, for a words of affirmation person, it may feel like they're really not listening to what you have to say, and it's more of a vain kind of thing going on, especially if you're still learning whoever it is that you are communicating with in their love language. It can go south very quickly, I feel like. So I think that words of affirmation and physical touch is definitely one of those pairs where it's going to take more work to make it work. Now, the second pair that I want to say is probably one of the hardest to get along, if any of the pairs, would definitely be receiving gifts versus acts of service. Because as we talked about before, with acts of service, these are people who feel like if you lessen my load, it definitely makes things easier for me. It makes me think that you are thinking about me and gratitude. And then receiving gifts, this is a person who basically loves to be showered with gifts, things that you just thought about them and you bought, things of that nature. Now, we know with love language, typically we are giving our love language to the person that we are trying to interact with. So for say, if my love language is words of affirmation, I am continuously giving someone words of encouragement when really how they receive love is probably, physical touch or something like that. So back to what we were talking about before with receiving gifts and acts of service. If the person's love language is acts of service, but your love language is receiving gifts, and you're giving the person who is acts of service all these gifts, sometimes that can actually be adding to their load or making them feel like, once again, that they are not acknowledged in this moment. You are just throwing these, you're not actively there. You're throwing things in the mix. Now, I will say there are times where this could either work well or be circumvented, because that can mean like, if I'm tired, I'm acts of service, I'm tired, I come home, and the person who is receiving gifts, they outsource. So that means by the time I come home, the home is clean, there's dinner cooked because they hired a chef and they hired a maid or whatever. It could work that way. It's not always a bad thing, but I just saw this pair to possibly be problematic. Am I making sense? I hope I'm making sense. So anywho, we're going to go on to the best pairs in love language. So my first pair that I want to say are probably the most compatible is words of affirmation and acts of service. Before I even get into it, does anybody else see that as a type of pair? Like, think about it. Just think about it. Words of affirmation, someone who needs to be feel like they are heard and encouraged. And what is a better way than for acts of service, someone to basically hear what words of affirmation is saying in that moment and then execute? What is better than that? Or vice versa. Acts of service, the person who is words of affirmation is giving them that encouragement, listening to them once again, and possibly even doing it the other way around where they give them exactly what they need. It is such like a dynamic duo. I just think that is one of the best pairs that you could possibly have if we had to choose a pair. So I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. I'm going to go over to the next one. So the next one that I am going to say is quality time and words of affirmation. Now, I know words of affirmation, we've been talking about it a lot. Maybe it's probably one of the easiest ones to get with if you are somebody who's able to verbalize things, because communication is key. We've definitely talked about that. I feel like that is well known for the most part. Communication is important. But anyway, words of affirmation and quality time, because if you think about it, with quality time, that means that you have to have that one-on-one time with someone, whereas with words of affirmation, they also want to have a little bit of that one-on-one time, that encouragement, that, feeling of being engrossed in a space together and being able to communicate. So if you really think about it, I think they mesh very well together, just because they are able to connect on another level. They are able to talk about things and just enjoy each other's company. Like, I think that is such a good pair. So those are my two best compatible love languages. All right, guys, I really hope that you like this video. Let me know down in the comments below if you agreed with any of those pairs that I said, or do you think there is something a little bit different? Again, it's just my opinion. I just thought I would add, as I'm sitting here looking at all of these love languages, which one are you? Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.